right, Coach, if you'd like to start with an opening statement.
Yeah, I'm Jake Reed. I'm in my 10th year here with the University of Lynchburg cross country and track and field. The distance coach, and excited for another great year.
Well, I think it's going to be another great year. Last season at the national championships, women finished 7th, guys finished 9th. Those are the best finishes in program history. So how do you plan on just carrying that momentum into this season?
Yeah, I mean it's a process, and we always talk about that. We say the joys in the journey, and a big part of the experience here is just having fun with the process. We don't focus a lot on the outcome goals. We focus more on executing and just doing things the right way. And I think we're off to a great start this year, and I'm excited to see what they can do.
So when you look at the process, obviously lots of pieces into this puzzle, and you have about 60 athletes this season. So when you're looking at leadership roles and just trying to find those veterans who are going to make a difference, what are you looking for to lead the culture?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, leadership in our culture is a lot by example. We don't have captains. We don't identify anyone specifically. But when I look at the crux of our team and who people follow, they have great examples out in front of them. I think about some of the guys that I know you're going to be talking to today, like Chasen Hunt, Sam Lenenza, Tor. Those examples in front of those young guys, it's what really runs the ship. When I look at what we do as coaches, we're there to guide and to have a great outline for these guys, but they're really setting the example. And if it wasn't for people like that, we wouldn't be where we are today. There really is what's setting this apart.
Setting apart, I think, is something that we've seen not just on the course, but as you really spoke about, it's the culture that matters. You have 17 newcomers this year. It's very similar to that 2022 class. And so what do you look for during the summer when you're trying to get a group to gel together to really start connecting early? How does that impact performance?
Absolutely. So, I think this is arguably the greatest recruiting class in our school's history on the men's side. We look at the athletes coming in. I would say 5, 6 of these athletes would probably be the best recruits we've ever had in school history, and they're all in one class. But with that, we try to remove pressure, expectation, and it's nice that they have the juniors and seniors ahead of them that can, they can withstand some of that pressure. They don't have to perform right away. We have great upperclassmen that are already performing at a high level, so they can just come in and commit to a process. They don't have to worry about racing at a high level. And I think when you do that, it's a lot easier to acclimate. And I look at our women's side. We have a couple of really good freshmen coming in, and then we have Kayla and Allison that are the upperclassmen that can kind of lead them and guide them. And I think when you step into a program that's structured and systematic in a way, it's really easy to adapt. There's not a lot of questions, a lot of variables, not a lot of new things thrown at you. Once you get through a week or two, it's pretty sound and everyone knows what they're doing.
So a lot of consistency, and obviously that leads into the results and what you've been able to accomplish. But let's look at the other side of the spectrum. What's the big area of improvement you want to see from the squad this year?
I don't know if it's so much improvement that we need to do as just much as continuing to find joy in the process. We always use the adage "suffer better," finding joy in the journey, because we know there's a lot of stress. And I would say the biggest thing that we want to focus on is ensuring that all aspects of life are good, because this isn't just about running. These kids are student athletes. And we know there's a lot more stressors than just the physical side, and we want to take care of each other. So when I look through it, and you talked about it, we have 60 athletes. What's that look like? That can be really difficult. We need to make sure that individuals don't get lost in this process, that we take care of everyone every step of the way, that they have the resources that they need, and that they are, thriving and not just surviving. And we want to have those checks, the mental and emotional checks, just as much as we want to make sure they're doing well physically.
Well, one way to ensure that is adding to the coaching staff. You have Tanner this year, Olivia Watson came on last year. What have they been able to do really to not only just help you, but make sure that the athletes are really feeling like they belong in the system?
Yeah, it's awesome to have Tanner Smith back. He was here in 2019 with me. He was a volunteer coach. He also helped coach my middle school and high school, homeschool program that I run. We've been friends for a long time, so welcoming him back into our program in this role, it's seamless. He already knows some of the people, he already knows our processes, and he's able to add value right away. Olivia has been a home run. She's been an absolute and incredible fit in our culture of the program, and just helping to, be a resource for our women too, and just being an ear out there and helping them to just bring a greater understanding to what we're doing, but also a recruiter. She's great at organization, and I know with those two on staff, the sky's the limit. We're going to keep bringing in great recruits. These athletes over here, they're going to have, the resources they need and the people they need to get to, be able to perform at a high level.
So for people outside of the program, a lot of the times you see the headlines, you see the guys who are at nationals, who are All-Americans. You don't necessarily get to see the rest of the roster and some of those improvement stories. So from the summer, who are one or two people that you've seen who have really not only improved, but just helped their teammates along the way?
Absolutely, and I would highlight you, Evan Gates. You sit here and you say that, you get to see like the Sam Lenenzas, the Chasen Hunts. I think what you do with social media, being a media director for us, is incredible, because we do get to see some of those stories, and we do try to, take ownership of highlighting the people that are working really hard. When I look, and I know this guy might have been, a little bit of a key contributor last year, but didn't get to experience the postseason, Marco. When I look at Marco coming back this year and just kind of putting life together, and a big part of what we talked about is the mental and emotional aspect, making sure kids are taken care of. And I think, he's really starting to put that together. Stress loads come down a little bit. He's healthy. He had an awesome summer. He's in an incredible spot, and I think he's going to surprise some people. I'm really excited to see what he can do this year. And then I also think watching, some of our girls come back. We had Hannah Herr and Delaney Salisbury, and I look at Delaney Salisbury's summer, watching her in the time trials early and watching her just train at a much higher level than ever before. Foot speed has increased dramatically, and I know for her, she's going to have a huge year.
So many people in that category. Let's talk about injuries. Obviously, it's not a very fun part of the process, but last spring you maybe had the most that you've ever had at one time, and you still came away with that ODAC outdoor title. And so, what changes have been made to the process going into the cross-country season, or just stuff that you've noticed from that?
Yeah, I think last year for us was one of the greatest years, but also one of the hardest years, and for many different reasons. Injuries being a big one. I had made a comment last year to our athletic trainer that I felt like we had the potential to have that problem. And unfortunately, it did come to fruition. We had a lot of our trail system in Lynchburg that had kind of gotten washed out from storms. We didn't have as easy access to soft surface. New kids were kind of pushing the envelope a little bit on what they were running with what, they had available to them. And I think a big part of coming out of that was just like trusting and believing that we can overcome those things. And I think we have examples of that in our program. I just spoke on two of them when I looked at Hannah Herr and Delaney Salisbury. They were in those shoes 2 years ago. And I think people can look at them as examples that, one little hiccup, one little hurdle on the road doesn't need to define your career, and we're going to persevere. And I think that's what last year was about. Like, we really persisted, persevered, stayed positive, even though we had a lot of people going through things. And that helped the energy level of those that were performing at a high level stay there and get the best out of themselves.
Can certainly see the energy now. Two more questions. Let's focus on the logistics. So this year, your squad will have traveled over 5,000 miles by the end of the season when you look at all the travel, all the postseason meets. Can you provide some insight just into how that schedule might impact performances, making sure that everybody has energy going into meets?
That's crazy. I don't know who made that. No. Yeah, I know we are going to be traveling, so we'll have 2 trips this year that will require us to fly, which is not traditional in our schedule. I'm kind of excited because we preach this is about joy in the journey, the experiences, and a lot of our kids talk about that, just the trips they get to take and the fun memories we get to create. But we also know it is a lot of wear and tear on a student athlete, and trying to make sure that we stay on top of sleep and we stay on top of schoolwork. And that's something we're going to talk a lot about this year. We've made some decisions along the way. You won't see the men's and women's squad in the same place every single weekend because we're trying to take that into account, and we're trying to make sure that, the right opportunity for the right people, what is the best fit. And we talk about that all the time in our program. It's not about the best meet, what's the best competition or where's the best place to run, but what's the right opportunity for us or what's the right opportunity for that individual. And we try to train towards those things and do what makes sense for our student athletes.
Well, final question. All of that adds up, and you hope everybody is on that line at the national championships. That's in Terre Haute, Indiana this year. So what can you tell us just about what you know about the course so far going into the postseason?
Yeah, fortunately, I had an opportunity to compete there a couple times as an athlete. I've seen the course a bunch. I've watched two of my teammates win national titles on the course when I was at Liberty University. So that course holds a lot of memories too. I think it's a fun place to compete. It's a standalone cross-country course, which is a rarity. So you kind of know what condition it's going to be in as long as there's not inclement weather, and it's fair. I wouldn't say it's hard. I wouldn't say it's easy, gently rolling. I think it sets up well for a lot of our athletes to, a lot of our athletes possess a little bit more speed. We are a little bit more mid-based and top-heavy on mid-distance athletes in our cross roster. And I think the way that course is set up and designed, I think it favors us. And I'm really excited because I think we will set up training and we will train towards that. And I know our athletes are going to be in a place to thrive come November.
Thanks for your time, Coach.
Yeah, thank you.